Hello and welcome to Roding Valley TV. This morning we're going to look at one of the pieces of coursework for the iGCSE Cambridge exam qualification. It's a writing to argue piece, and as you can see the title is on the screen: to write an article to argue that Olympic athletes make the best role models for young people. Okay, so if you look at the screen, it's set out like a journey, because that is what a piece of writing is. It's not a set of paragraphs that aren't linked. It's a set of ideas that build up to a conclusion. So it should develop as it goes along. I don't just want repetition of point after point, and your paragraphs should all be linked together. Okay. Let's go through some of the skills. It is a writing assessment, and on this video now, there's just going to be ideas, hints and tips. You can do whatever you want, include anything that you believe to be appropriate to address the question. You don't have to do all the ideas I suggest, you don't have to do any of the ideas I suggest. You can put in your own as well, or instead it's completely up to you. One thing that's not up to you though is that the final piece has to be between 500 and 800 words. And as I mentioned, you're being assessed on your writing skills, which is things like sentence accuracy and variety, punctuation accuracy and variety, appropriate advanced vocabulary, and paragraphs, both links between the paragraphs like I said before, and a variety of length. Also, audience and purpose. So is your vocabulary and your writing style suitable for the task and the person it is aimed at? Okay, I'm going to be quite quick in this video, so it'll be up to you to pause the video and write the sections that I go through. Okay, so we start with looking at the question. The first thing, however, the demands of is that it's an article. So let's look at what an article needs to be. So if you look there, the headline in the example isn't very good, but it has a headline. I recommend maybe using a bit of alliteration in the headline. Always makes a quite good impact. Make a headline no more than 5 words really. A subheadline that just sums up the rest of the article. You may include that, isn't necessary. You may include an image, again isn't necessary. You may include a caption summing up the image. And the style has to be formal, so I don't want any slang or anything in there, but also it does need to be catchy and entertaining, which can be quite difficult. Another demand of the question is the fact that it's to argue. So, when we write to argue, we start with the opposing argument, the counter-argument. So, some may be of the opinion that school uniform is restrictive and limits creativity. However, the uniform can aid concentration, as pupils are not distracted by what their peers are wearing. Okay, I would go on to build on my point. If you see, I've started with the opinion that I do not believe, to show that I appreciate that there's another side of the argument, but then I go on to kind of destroy the other argument, I suppose. And another thing that you need to use in arguing piece is your aphorist techniques. I'll just go over, I'll just show you what they are. If you don't have this sheet in front of you, it might be good just to print screen it now and then copy it into a document and print it out so you've got this in front of you, so you can tick off the techniques as you use them through your article. I'm not going to go through them now, you can do that. Alright then, so we need to start with the introduction. So an introduction is quite a short piece. It needs to be catchy, an entertaining start, making your reader want to read on. Use aphorist. A triple or rhetorical question is normally quite good in the introduction. And you need to outline what your argument is going to be. Have a look at the 3 large headings that are on the overall screen in the first opening part of this video, and that'll give you a clue what you're going to be writing throughout, and that's kind of what you sum up to include in your introduction. Try and only write between 3 and 5 lines, giving it as much impact as possible without being long and boring. Alright, so let's just have a look at another skill. So we've looked at the A4 skills, but another skill you need to show is the type of sentences. If you're not confident on these, again, this might be worth print screening and printing out and just ticking a few off as you go along. Again, I'm not going to go through them, but all the information's there if you need it. Okay, so the first section, notice I say section and not paragraph, the first section of our piece is going to be why Olympians are better role models than other celebrities. Okay, so pick a celebrity that you can say is a bad role model. Start by saying something positive, because we're starting with the counter argument, and then go on to how they're a negative role model. It doesn't have to be one of these, it can be one of your own. Remember, sentence types, A4ist, vocabulary, things like that. Pause the video now and try and maybe write between around 10 lines on this one. If you write more or a little less, then that's fine. But I recommend aiming for approximately 10 lines. Okay, the next bit, again, after I finish talking, pause the video. Looking at motivation, what motivates athletes and what motivates celebrities. I'm not going to read this out to you, you can read it yourself. Don't forget to include A4ist and look at your sentence types. Now, the last one I said, around 10 lines, maybe, because we need to vary our paragraph lengths, which we're going to look at in a moment, maybe try and make this one a much longer paragraph. Try for over 20 lines. Try and go in depth and detail on this point. Okay, pause the screen and write this section. Okay, I've just mentioned it, paragraphing. So you need to make sure you vary the lengths of your paragraphs, so some delve deeper into in some of your more important points, and some points are shorter and snappier. A challenge, try and insert, maybe now or between your next paragraph, just a one-sentence paragraph. Okay, so we've looked at kind of trash-talking celebrities as role models. Now we're going to kind of promote the idea of athletes. So, the qualities that Olympians have that young people should aspire toward. Okay, healthy eating and exercise. Again, I'm not going to read this out for you. They're mainly prompt questions to get you thinking. Remember to start with the counter argument, sentence types. Try a minor sentence if you haven't already. Okay, so pause the screen. Have a look at this. Remember your paragraph lengths, think about that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next screen. Okay, determination and dedication. Again, I'm not going to read these. I've just noted at the bottom that this is a good point to check your word count. If you're not over 350 words, you need to develop some of your ideas further to reach a minimum. Note that minimum is capital letters of 500 words. If you're typing it out, that'll be easy to check. It should just be in the bottom corner. If you're writing out by hand, normally people will write about 7 words per line. So if you just count your words and then get a calculator or do it in your head, times it by 7, and that should give you a rough indication of how close you are to the that mark. Okay, so pause this bit. Tackle this these questions. Don't forget, put in ideas of your own if you want. And moving on to the next slide. Okay, so it's good to vary your punctuation. Just go back over your document now. Now you've checked how long it is. If your document isn't long enough, try and extend some of your points a little bit more and see if you can add in some of the punctuation that is below. If you're not sure about any of these pieces of punctuation, I do have a punctuation sheet that you can come up and get off me. If not, just Google some of the individual ones and you'll see loads of examples on the internet. Okay, the final section, how society and media needs to change to alter the role models to whom young people aspire. Okay, so look at magazines and tabloid newspapers, read the questions, really focus on making this paragraph entertaining with good use of A4. I think this is a really good thing. You can put lots of opinion, may even use a bit of humour, sarcasm, irony. Try and get some of your personality in there, but making sure you keep it formal. Okay, moving on. Okay, make some suggestions on how we could all make a small difference in making Olympians the role model of future generations. So again, have a look at the prompt questions, see what you think about it, and then write your argument. You're almost there now. Make a real effort with this section, and then we're moving on to the conclusion next, because they're what's going to make the lasting impact on the reader. So any A4s, check through the A4s that you haven't used, try and throw some in there. You might have some reader address in this bit. Okay, moving on to the conclusion then. Okay, and finally the conclusion. It's just a short summary about what you've argued, so about the same length as your introduction. Just sum up what you've argued throughout, and then end with a punchy, memorable final sentence. You might want to use some alliteration, repetition, or maybe a triple in there to make it stand out. Okay, and that's that whole piece of coursework. Remember, check, it has to be between 500 and 800 words. Make sure you go over, double check your punctuation, your sentence types, your paragraphing, make sure it all flows as one piece of writing and not loads of different bits just glued together. Make sure that it's like an article and it addresses the question in total. If you have any problems or you want me to mark your work, come and see me. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.